I was 34 when I discovered my dad's 12 floppy disks in an old box hidden in the attic. The box was dusty and covered in cobwebs, a time capsule from a past I thought I had forgotten. 12 blue 3.5 diskettes, each labeled in my father's meticulous handwriting. Q199, Q299, Q399, Q499, and so on through 3 years of quarterly reports from his accounting job. My dad had been dead for 5 years, and the storage unit was the last place I had to sort through. As I carefully lifted the discs out of the box, a wave of nostalgia washed over me. I remembered visiting the cramped office my father worked at, the smell of old paper and ink filling the air, mingling with the aroma of cologne he wore, a scent almost lost to time. Those early days in 1999 felt so distant, yet the memories were vivid. I could hear the soft whir of the floppy drive and the rhythmic tapping of keyboards echoing in my mind, juxtaposed with my own excitement over his return home, bringing little pockets of joy from the corporate world. Handling the discs filled me with an odd sense of anticipation tinged with melancholy. It was thrilling yet unsettling. I had almost tossed them aside, thinking nobody uses floppy disks anymore, but something compelled me to order a USB reader. $60 for a relic of a bygone era. When the reader arrived, I connected it to my computer, feeling a mix of excitement and sorrow as I inserted the first disc. The familiar mechanical grinding sound echoed, reminding me of days spent in my elementary school computer lab, huddled over the blue iMacs while playing Oregon Trail. Inside the first disc were just spreadsheets, tax forms, and client accounts. The mundane, the predictable. I felt comforted, enveloped in the normalcy that outlined my father's professional life. Quarters of meticulously organized audits, neatly stacked and documented. Yet there was something unsettling about the last disc I hadn't quite recognized yet. An instinctual chill ran down my spine when I thought of it, but I shrugged it off, delving back into the piles of nostalgic memories. The scent of old plastic and magnetic tape stirred buried feelings as I moved through the first few items. When I reached the last disc, I held my breath. It felt different, heavier somehow, like it was waiting to reveal its secrets. The pattern held for the first few items, but as I pressed the letters on my keyboard and the files appeared, unease crept in. I felt a strange sensation wash over me as I opened that last disc, guiding me towards something dark. But I pushed it aside, reminding myself thoughts like that had no place today. It was only my father's legacy, wasn't it? After all, he'd been an accountant, predictable, structured, safe. Yet somehow, the last disc beckoned me with an odd urgency. The potential of discoveries filled me with hope, but also dread. If only I had known then what was still hidden in those seemingly innocuous files. As I settled in for another session of exploration, I was swept into memories of my dad at his desk, filled with back-and-forth meetings, projecting numbers for clients, and discussing Y2K anxieties over coffee. The calm before the storm of the new millennium. As I opened the initial discs, I was flooded with moments of nostalgia. Recollections of what it was like at the edge of technology shifting, the internet rising, and my father's proud reflection on a career built on structure. I remembered how he used to reassure our family, explaining that everything was fine. "You have nothing to worry about," he'd say in his booming voice, laughing off the fears surrounding Y2K, the idea of chaos lingering just weeks away. Now, as I looked at the files that painted such a detailed picture of his life and times, it struck me, the normalcy, the comfort. With each flipped disk, I uncovered the expected work files, project proposals, and even some old family photos from a vacation in '99. I saw a snapshot from Disneyland, my dad smiling broadly with ice cream in hand, a snapshot of happiness frozen in time. Emotion surged. It felt like he was watching me, guiding me through those archives full of daily life details. Then, my mind shifted to the reactions of my family members as I shared the find. My sister laughed, reminiscing about Dad's chaotic office, and my mother smiled wistfully about how proud he always was of his work. There was a connection radiating through the memories, and it felt safe, comforting, like a warm blanket on a cold night. The nostalgia permeated my thoughts as I immersed myself deeper into the world of the old discs. Relics of a simpler era transformed their role from mere objects into intimate conversations with my past. But beneath the surface of familiarity, unease stirred. The final disc lingered in my mind, an oddity I couldn't shake. As I prepared to search its contents, I felt my heart race. I couldn't know then that the next file would unravel the very fabric of what I believed possible. I opened the last disc, bracing myself, unprepared for what lay ahead. Upon opening the folder titled bank_statement.pdf, a sense of disbelief crept over me. There it was, in stark black and white, my bank statement, glaring back like a ghost from the future. The date read November 21, 2024. My stomach twisted. It was just days away. Scrolling through, my disbelief turned to confusion as a list of transactions unfolded. A coffee shop visit, groceries, a charity donation, details I had just done hours prior. I felt a cold sweat dripping down my back. This can't be real, I mumbled to myself, staring at the document as if it would shatter at my touch. The impossibility nagged at me, refusing to let go. It's just a glitch, a corrupted file from years gone by, I thought desperately, grasping for rationale, my mind reeling. I tried rationalizing it with every shred of logic my brain could muster. Maybe I mistakenly copied my contemporary data onto this disk? It seemed absurd, but who else would believe it? My mind raced, prompting memories of discussing this deviant kind of technology in college, and yet here, in stark reality, was something that seemed to breach categories, pronounced by numbers on a screen that couldn't exist in his time. I thought maybe it was just that one file. Oh, I was wrong. I quickly reached for another disk, emboldened by determination and fear. Each one revealed more of the same: dates, events, conversations that hadn't yet happened. I could feel the weight of the universe pressing down on me, squeezing tighter as the mundane transformed into a sinister narrative that I had yet to unravel. The emergent truth forced me to confront nothing less than my understanding of time itself, a revelation too disorienting to grasp entirely. And soon, my nights turned into a sleepless blur, exploring file after file, at times wishing I could retreat from the unfolding dread that pressed against my psyche. I felt every tick as the clock ticked on toward the unknown, each second accumulating with anxiety. Shadows danced on the edge of memory, insisting I address all the chaotic secrets lurking within those dusty disks. My rational mind fought back as the panic began to spiral, but nothing prepared me for what was in the last file. Predictions about tragedy, looming threats tied intricately to me and my loved ones. That night, I wept as I curled into grotesque fetal solace, faced with the impossible reality that threatened my very existence. The patterns of fate were taking me places I never expected, and I was tangling deeper into a web spun from sheer horrors of the past. But as the revelations sharpened, my heart ached with the sudden weight of knowing this was not just a game. Through the nighttime silence, I felt a presence, one that knew my ins and outs, entwining itself with my own fate. I considered sharing my findings with a close friend. I needed someone to confide in, someone to capture the otherworldly nature of what I was learning each waking moment. Would they believe me? As I shrank from the thought of exposing the truth, I turned to a friend for solace. As I revealed what I had uncovered, their horror mirrored my own. I felt every ounce of breath hitch in their throat as they absorbed the nightmare, grappling with the implications of what I was presenting. And suddenly, in the midst of panic's embrace, I realized it was not just about me. The stakes extended beyond my reach, stretching out like creaking branches of a once sturdy tree, now rotting and twisted beyond recognition. I threw myself into research, my days filled with desperate searches through rabbit holes of temporal paradoxes and quantum theories. Every discovery left me more baffled than before as I scoured for a semblance of understanding regarding how the impossible happened. Y2K concerns felt trivial now, layered beneath the significance of what I was unearthing. Was my father aware of this? Did he leave me a warning, a prophecy hidden within mundane patterns of work? It felt as if my past was captured and leaked into an unfathomable future I could not escape. Nothing I found matched what I experienced. Every theory fell short, unraveling in frustration as time became a two-dimensional plane, offering no answers. I ventured deeper into the black hole of my own reality, driven by the pressing question, why was I chosen? Time travel, retrocausality, words that danced in my mind but didn't capture the extent of the impossibility I was uncovering. No amount of research could capture the magnitude of existential dread that gripped my soul, plunging me into a profound sense of ludicrousness, that life could be narrated by falling figures, predetermined in history's script. If knowledge was power, I was merely a puppet tangled in fate's strings, losing grip on what I thought was free will. When I pivoted toward the connections between facts and events, the evidence began accumulating, linking impossibilities to the very fabric of my life. My father's belongings became a ghostly echo, revealing connections I never would have suspected before. Scrolling through the written dates, I noticed how they echoed events recently experienced, a friend's engagement that followed the timeline I now saw laid out before me, predicted in looping scenarios as if I were nothing but the narrator of someone else's story. Through obsessive searching of his old things, I quickly discovered vague messages left behind. It seemed my father had expected something of this nature and had left hints along the way, secrets woven through the fabric of our familial legacy. Triggering a mixture of deep unease and fear, I felt doomed. Each realization began to craft a fate tied into a narrative that seemed unchangeable as I scrambled to hold on to the last threads of my autonomy. Each situation uncovered whispers of a predetermined path, casting shadows in my mind. My fate felt like a script waiting to unfurl. Coiled in predestination, I absorbed new instructions on how I should navigate each upcoming event. I realized I wasn't just finding information. I was receiving instructions, eerie and demanding, as I turned to action based on knowledge I should never have had. Scrambling for any sense of agency, I struggled against the tempest brewing within me. But as I made plans to change the trajectory of these events, every action felt predicted. I felt watched, as if a higher power scrutinized my every move. The stakes climbed higher, tension snapping like the taut string of a bow, threatening to release on the world and bring down clarity and chaos. As things spiraled out of control, the emotional and physical toll weighed heavily on my spirit. I could feel my sense of self dissipating into the revelations I couldn't escape. Who was I anymore? The realization hit hard as I grasped what my father seemed to convey. I had become a narrative device tied to an unexplainable outcome. Then that night suddenly turned into an avowal of destiny. I began to comprehend the nature of time twirling behind me like insidious smoke. My movements felt choreographed, orchestrated, and everything I once held as true began fragmenting before my very eyes. Nature's hand was heavier than I could fight against. To know the potential future felt like a curse. No, it was haunting me. And still, I clung to that last disc, pushing down the fear by rereading memories of my past that seemed all but forgotten. Days blurred, shaking conversations morphed into frantic pleas. Yet knowing I would continue down this path I never chose left a bitter taste in my mouth.
The final truth struck once I penetrated deeper into the enigma. In the revelations from the discs, I finally connected threads leading back to my father's fate. Knowledge he possessed weighed upon my shoulders, while the intricate web sprawled endlessly out before me. As clarity washed over me, I felt an existential fracture that threatened to rip my reality apart. I stared at the screen, inhaling shallow breaths as the implications unfurled piece by piece. With each open file, my mind grappled with neurons firing haphazardly. I still have the floppy disks.
And sometimes, when I check them, new information appears. The disquieting memories remained locked within me, the remnants of what my father intended to tell, all resting enigmatically on that magnetic tape. I'm tethered to the ripple of consequences my past carries, forever altered by this unnerving legacy. For now, a question lingers in the air, clawing at the edges of my consciousness, echoing softly in the recesses of my mind. Are we ever truly free from what has already been written? As I sat at my desk, surrounded by the pale glow of my computer screen, my fingers trembled over the keyboard. My heart felt trapped, pounding as if desperate to escape the confines of my chest. The deeper I delved into the contents of the floppy disks, the more I sank into an unsettling abyss. With every tick of the clock, the shadows in my room loomed larger, as if they were not just figments of my imagination, but sentinels watching my every move. The routine I established was suffocating. Each day I would wake, pour myself a cup of coffee, and then stare at the discs sprawled across my desk like harbingers of doom. Their presence loomed heavily over me, a reminder of the impossible that lingered just within reach. I felt compelled to unravel their secrets, yet a nagging fear gripped me. Did I really want the truths they held? In a desperate attempt to regain control, I pulled out a notebook and began documenting my findings, labeling it The Family Archives, Evidence from the Past. Each entry filled me with an unease that thickened with every line I wrote. Thoughts of temporal anomalies and past events seemed together in a disturbing fabric, and I found myself overwhelmed by the implications. Was this really a glimpse into the future, or was I merely losing my grasp on reality? As I scrolled through files, I began to see how they echoed events from my life. The mundane, everyday occurrences were repackaged into something sinister, twisting into a narrative I never authored. Memories of my father's assurances during Y2K, how technology would not fail us, weighed heavily on my mind. In retrospect, those reassurances felt like an omen, perhaps rooted in a truth I was too naive to understand then. That night, sleepless and alone, I clutched the discs, contemplating their message. With each open file, the questions piled up like an avalanche threatening to swallow me whole. Could it be that my destiny had been written long before I was even aware of it? Each moment of clarity began to morph into a haunting dread, blurring the lines between memory and prediction. By dawn, I felt fractured, lost in existential thought. My father's legacy transformed from a source of nostalgia to a looming shadow cast over my life, demanding I confront the sinister and sometimes tragic patterns unfolding before me. I needed to confide in someone, perhaps a friend who might understand the weight of what I uncovered. Would they believe me? I fought with that question, knowing that if I revealed the truth, I might also expose them to its ramifications. After finally mustering enough courage, I shared my findings. As my friend's horror reflected my own, I realized it was not merely about me anymore. The stakes had grown beyond comprehension, stretching out like a twisted tree, roots intertwined with my past and future. While researching temporal paradoxes, I felt increasingly dwarfed by my revelations. Was my father aware of this before, leaving breadcrumbs for me to follow?
almost as if he anticipated the moment I would open those discs and awaken their eerie contents. Every day turned into desperate searches through material that felt both familiar and foreign. Nothing matched the peculiarities I encountered. Every theory fell short as time twisted and turned around me, spinning into a chaotic web of meaning. Each realization tied back to my father's fate, anchoring me in doubts and fears that felt unshakable. Sifting through the remnants of his life, it struck me, I wasn't just gaining knowledge. I was receiving instructions, guides meant to navigate a treacherous path of choices already foreshadowed. The weight of it all threatened to crush my sense of self. I still have the floppy disks, and sometimes when I check them, new information appears. Lingering questions hovered over me, clawing at the edges of my mind. Are we ever truly free from what has already been written? The echoes of those thoughts rippled through my existence, haunting the spaces left behind by my father, forever altering the narrative of my life. Days blurred into nights, and with each dawn, a weight settled deeper upon my chest. The routine of waking, pouring coffee, and gazing at the floppy disks became a haunting ritual. They lay upon my desk, a collection of artifacts whispering secrets I hesitated to decode. Their presence loomed over me, a constant reminder of the unnerving truths nestled within their magnetic tapes. I felt trapped in a paradox, endlessly curious yet terrified of what I might uncover. Each disc held not just the echoes of my father's past, but shaped the contours of my present and possibly future. I couldn't shake the growing sense of helplessness, an awareness that I was living through a predestined script. In an attempt to find clarity, I began documenting everything, labeling my notes the family archives, evidence from the past. But with every entry, dread thickened the air around me, constricting my breath. As I ventured deeper into the archives, I found more than mere business reports. Events that had transpired in my life were inexplicably mirrored in those musty files. A friend's recent engagement had been predicted within the very fabric of my father's work. My heart raced as the implications sank in. My life, seemingly spontaneous and free, was somehow orchestrated by hands I could no longer see. That night, under the oppressive weight of sleeplessness, I clutched one of the discs, teetering on the edge of revelation. The notion that my destiny was inscribed long before I had lived it felt like a heavy noose tightening around my throat. Memories blurred with predictions, and with each passing hour, the bounds of time twisted in ways that struck me with dread. I found myself gripping the desk for stability. The aching need to unburden this knowledge fell upon me. If I could share the truth, perhaps others would grasp its gravity and offer clarity, and maybe I could feel less isolated in my torment. I hesitated, afraid that revealing the existence of the discs and their contents could ensnare them in my growing anxiety. After my thoughts forced me to action, I gathered the courage to confide in a trusted friend, pouring out my fears and findings in a rush. Their eyes widened, sharply reflecting the horror I felt deep down inside. It was not merely about me anymore. The implications extended into the lives of those I loved. The roots of consequence reached out like tendrils, tangling me in an ever more complex web. In my quest for understanding, I delved into research on temporal paradoxes, only to be left feeling overwhelmed. Had my father known about this? Had he left clues intentionally, breadcrumbs meant for me to follow? The potential truth felt like an ominous weight hanging over my head, an unshakable burden that left me questioning everything. Every theory I explored only highlighted my confusion, causing time itself to spiral chaotically around me, each moment vibrating with anxious energy. The remnants of my father's life were not merely documents, but cryptic messages that unfolded like dark prophecies. I realized that I wasn't just gaining pieces of information, I was receiving dire instructions subtly pushing me down this path of foreseen choices. The vibrations of those discoveries resonated through me, heavy and relentless. I still possess the floppy disks, and with each interaction, it feels as though they harbor some new fragment of information lurking just beyond my reach. A whisper in the wind promising more revelations that I may not be ready to face. Questions gnawed at me, clawing relentlessly in the recesses of my mind. Are we ever truly free from what has already been written? This haunting inquiry reverberated through my spirit, demanding resolution. I resolved in that instant that I needed to share my journey, to pull back the veil of these mysteries. If you want to explore the strange anomalies hiding within our cast, subscribe to my channel and join me as I navigate these unsettling waters. Together, we can uncover the hidden truths that might just reshape our understanding of time and the legacies we inherit. The echoes of history await, and at the center of it all, I stand, an unwilling narrator, caught in the gripping plot of a story not entirely of my making. The next few days felt like an unraveling thread, revealing patterns in the fabric of my life. With each passing hour, I dove deeper into the floppy disks, their contents like murky waters hiding secrets beneath the surface. I became obsessed with deciphering the cryptic messages they held, racing against the growing terror that I was losing my grasp on reality. It began to dawn on me that these documents were not mere remembrances of my father's career. They were a map, charting a course for his family's future, filled with details that seemed almost too perfect to be coincidence. A chilling entry caught my eye among one of the spreadsheets. Q4 2024. A family member will face a crucial crossroad involving trust and treachery. The date loomed, just a few months away, and my heart raced. The shadows of anxiety crept back into my mind, urging me to connect the dots before it was too late. As I hurried through the files, seeking more secrets that might unveil the meaning behind my father's foresight, doubt gnawed at me. How could he have known? Was this an intricate prank, or had he foreseen our family's challenges with sinister clarity? Each entry intensified my dread, showing how intertwined our lives had always been with those unsettling threads, woven by time itself. That night found me sleepless and restless, the glow of the monitor illuminating my anxious face as I returned to my notes. I had amassed a significant collection of findings, but still felt no closer to the truth I desperately sought. An inkling of purpose tugged at my mind, a need to not just seek answers, but also to share the narrative taking shape from my father's hidden wisdom. In a moment of inspiration fueled by the urgency of my discoveries, I turned to the online communities I had previously explored. How to combat a future I'm unwittingly bound to, I typed into the search bar, hoping to find similar souls grappling with temporal anomalies. After a few moments of scanning responses, I decided to take the plunge and share my own experience. I found predictions of my family's future within old floppy disks from my deceased father, I wrote, my fingers hovering nervously over the keys. Each document pulls back the curtain on events yet to unfold. Has anyone else encountered such foresight? How can I navigate what feels like a scripted existence? Almost immediately, my post began to draw responses, each ping bringing a fresh wave of hope. As individuals shared their thoughts and stories, some comforting, others eerily similar, I felt a connection building. I clung to their words, gathering strength from the roots spread wide among those who had also dared to confront the unknown. Hit that like button if you feel the weight of destiny too, I thought, adding a layer of engagement to my post. There was a strange relief in knowing others were also grappling with similar mysteries, even if their apparent futures lacked the sinister predestination that accompanied my own revelations. That small act of sharing seemed to lift the heavy shroud of isolation that had covered me for far too long. Each new comment became a stepping stone, guiding me through the tangled path my father had laid out long ago.
There was strength in our collective experiences, and with every response, a sense of belonging grew, as though we had carved out a small community within this chaotic narrative. I captured the moments of connection and insight from my newfound online companions in my notebook. Each entry transformed my earlier anxiety into determination. I felt a spark igniting within me, a fire that pushed back against the shadows looming from the discs. Perhaps the key to illuminating the dark twists of our fates lay in pooling our knowledge and understanding. In the following days, I committed to a rigorous routine of self-discovery and documentation. As I explored the timelines my father had sketched out with such precision, I analyzed how the patterns layered over my reality, the past events accumulating like sediment, forming a bedrock for the chaos ahead. With time and focus, I sought to uncover actionable plans based on the foresight I had unwittingly inherited. Would my family merely tread the path set out for us, or could we, through collective knowledge, disrupt the predestined design and weave our own threads into the fabric of time? Every file, every connection transformed into a potential strategy, bringing hope amidst the growing dread of what awaited on the horizon. In those moments of forgiveness toward my own uncertainty, I resolved that while I may be tethered to the past, I could also reclaim my narrative. I would no longer interpret my father's predictions as a set of unalterable scripts, but rather as cautionary tales, a guide through the darkness, directing my family away from potential treachery ahead. The journey ahead would not be simple. But now, boasted by the blowing wind of community and determination, I took a step forward into a future that, although uncertain, could still be path-carved through our shared voices. I understood then. It was not just about following a written destiny, but in the courage to edit the script as it unfolded before us. The days turned into evenings, and I found myself enveloped in a haze of determination as I pressed further into deciphering my father's legacy. The floppy disks transformed from relics of a past life into something alive and burdened with meaning, each entry revealing more of the tangled web we called existence. I meticulously documented every revelation, spreading them out like a map upon my desk, trying to visualize the path stretching toward the future. Patterns emerged from the chaos. Birthdays, anniversaries, and even mundane events were listed with uncanny precision, just as the predictions pointed to significant familial shifts. Each connection left me breathless with both excitement and dread. I discovered other entries that hinted at moments I hadn't experienced yet, setting the stage for difficult confrontations and emotional reconciliations. It was as if every triumph and conflict was laid out for me, beckoning, and I felt as if I were caught in the eye of a storm that grew ever more perilous. In one particularly vivid document labeled Interpersonal Relationships Q2 2024, I read, "Trust issues will arise concerning familial ties, revealing hidden motives." The impending nature of this prediction thrummed in the air around me, transforming my anxious energy into a palpable tension. Would I be prepared to face this betrayal? Was it inevitable? With newfound purpose, I sought to forge a plan, tracing the timelines meticulously laid out in my father's documents, hoping it would illuminate the best paths to avert the foretold trials, or at least prepare me for them. But it occurred to me, if I was in this narrative and had the chance to alter it, was I responsible for the fates of those intertwined within? The thought weighed heavily upon my shoulders as I decided to break the silence with my family. I pondered what to say without spilling the full weight of my discoveries. The truth was that an ominous cloud had loomed over our future, and I had the keys to decipher it, but the fear of causing panic in my loved ones stilled my resolve. As I weighed my options, I returned to the online community that had become my lifeline. One evening, a surge of inspiration ignited in me as I decided to update my post. I wanted to share not just fear, but cautionary tales, urging others to heed the lessons we'd gained from past pain.
Does anyone think it's possible to rewrite the script of our lives? If we can recognize patterns, can we then find a way to change the trajectory? Before I clicked send, I glanced through the responses. The tapestry of voices was testimonial and raw. People recounted their own brushes with inexplicable foreknowledge and temporal anomalies, some echoing thoughts about conquering their destinies and crafting better futures. As I read, I felt a kinship, a bond forged by our shared experiences confronting the inescapable currents that seemed to bind us. I crafted my final sentence with care. Drop a comment if you've ever felt the weight of fate on your shoulders. How did you break free? Moments after sharing my revised post, the engagement erupted. Comments flowed in, each one a new thread pulling me deeper into the rich tapestry of our collective experiences. A few shares of optimism infused the responses from those who had managed to navigate their perceived paths of destiny. Others recounted their struggles, revealing scars marked by choices that had seemed inevitable. I once found my mother's diary, and it revealed things I never knew. She wrote about how she felt about us, predicting each of our pivotal moments. At times, I feared reading it, but it changed my path thereafter. That comment struck a chord deep within me. It was a reminder that encountering the truth could be harrowing, yet liberating. As the stream of stories unfolded, I felt the atmosphere around me shift. My solitude dissipated, and with it, an isolation that had anchored me for so long. Instead of facing the foreboding darkness alone, I now had a community forged by the fires of adversity and hope. As I navigated through the responses, I was struck by an epiphany. We could use our collective understanding to support each other, crafting plans to navigate our shared nightmares. Together, we could become each other's beacons, planting seeds of resilience that might one day blossom into a garden of understanding. Propelled by the encouragement that fluttered around me, I collected all my documentation, allowing my anxiety to shift from dread to resolve. The discs became my guiding stars, shining with the potential to illuminate paths that could be forged anew. Each entry guided me towards clarity, urging me to heighten my awareness of these impending events while I strategized the best approaches to avoid pitfalls. As the weeks of research bore fruit, I gathered courage to invite my family for dinner under the pretense of needing a family check-in. I felt it essential to prepare them for what lay ahead without burdening them with my extensive findings from the discs. I would only share what mattered, that we could face any challenge together as a unit. Placing plates on the table, the familiar scent wafting from the kitchen felt both comforting and unsettling. The warmth of family gathered left me momentarily fraught with uncertainty. Yet as the evening progressed, I leaned into the laughter shared over nostalgic stories, realizing that the threads of time were more than a burden, they were also a reminder of how connected we truly were. But a shadow lingered. The foreboding prediction was waiting like a wolf at the door, poised to pounce. It would require resilience, not only on my part, but for everyone who gathered around the table that night. And in that moment, I resolved, through understanding and unity, we would rewrite our script, one day at a time. The challenge awaited, but in the company of those I loved, maybe, just maybe, we could face it together. As we finished our dinner, laughter still hung in the air like a hazy mist. Those moments of connection felt like fragile bubbles, easily popped by the truth I was carrying, the heavy knowledge hidden just beneath my surface. I was determined to keep this evening light and joyous for as long as possible, but the shadow of my father's predictions loomed larger with every passing moment. I turned my gaze toward my family, now occupying the living room, absorbed in stories from our past. Their familiarity, the way they casually bantered, reminded me of how resilient we had been through tough times. Still, I couldn't shake the ever-present worry looming in the back of my mind. How would they react when confronted with the very real possibility that destiny was already mapped out for us? While tidying up the kitchen, I seized the moment to take a deep breath, regrouping my thoughts. I wanted to share what awaited us, but I needed to frame it in a way that revealed not just the impending challenges, but also the hope of choices that we could make together.
Soon enough, the chatter began to die down, and I knew it was now or never. I stepped into the living room, drawing their attention. "Can we take a moment to talk about what I mentioned during dinner?" The playful atmosphere hung like a curtain, and I sensed the immediate shift as curiosity and apprehension crossed their faces. "What's up?" my brother asked, leaning forward slightly. "I've been researching some things about our family, things that might affect us soon," I started, choosing my words carefully. "Like what?" my sister interjected, eyebrows raised. "I found documents from Dad, and they seem to lay out some predictions about our future, specifically regarding trust and relationships within the family," I revealed, gauging their reactions. "I'm worried that if we don't acknowledge these warnings, we might be caught unprepared."
Their collective silence told me everything I needed to know. It was the silence of disbelief hung on the edge of anxiety. My mother broke the quiet. "What exactly do you mean by predictions?" "Just that there are those things he explicitly wrote down, about issues we may face, conflicts even," I explained, feeling the weight in my chest constrict. "I believe if we prepare, we can take control and perhaps even change how we interact with each other." "You think Dad knew all of this would happen?" my brother asked, squinting at me as though he might discern answers in my expression. "I don't know, but the insights he left behind suggest we can use them to guide us," I replied earnestly. "We have a chance to break free from any inevitable betrayals and disappointments." My sister remained quiet for a moment before asking, "So what do we do with this knowledge?" "That's why I wanted to talk tonight. I think we need to work together," I stated, each word punctuated with urgency. "Our choices matter. We can be mindful about how we respond to each other and our situations, so we don't end up in the same traps he hinted at." Slowly, the walls around them began to crumble. My sister nodded, indicating she was beginning to understand. "Maybe it's like a warning shot. We should listen." "Yes," I exclaimed, my heart racing with hope. "That exactly. If we treat it as guidance, we can shape our own futures instead of surrendering to fate." After a beat of silence, my mother spoke. "You're right. We owe it to ourselves as a family to explore this together." Encouraged by their openness, I took a seat on the couch, feeling a weight lift. "So, moving forward, let's keep communicating openly. Let's create an environment where we confront the challenges head on. And can we express something important here? If you value this connection we have, please show your support for my journey." "Support how?" my brother asked, his expression questioning yet intrigued. "I've started a channel to document this exploration, but even more than that, it's a space for us to share our experiences and build understanding. If you hit that thanks button below my videos, it helps me keep things going. It keeps our conversations alive." My family exchanged looks of concern and delight. My sister smiled. "You know what? I like the idea. I'll hit that button." With laughter resuming, the tension began to dissolve, a testament to our unity amidst uncertainty. Though we had a long road ahead, at least we were on this journey together, equipped with a knowledge of our history and a commitment to change. I felt invigorated as we set our sights on the path forward, a combination of hope and determination shimmering in the dim light of the room. In that moment, the threat of betrayal seemed less daunting. The surroundings transformed from an arena of fear to a cradle of potential, and I allowed myself to believe that together we could not only rewrite our story, but ensure a brighter chapter for our family. As the laughter filled the room again, I sensed a renewed sense of purpose weaving its way between us. We had turned a corner. Instead of facing the ominous threads of fate alone, we were now armed with knowledge and a commitment to address any challenges together. With every moment that rolled by, a sense of warmth enveloped me, as though my father's wisdom had transcended time and brought us closer together. However, lingering doubts still clung to the edges of my thoughts.
The predictions I had uncovered remained poised on the brink of reality. I could almost hear the whispered warnings echoing from the discs. It was like a haunting melody I couldn't escape. The weight of what my father had foreseen settled upon my shoulders once more, urging me to dig deeper and share more broadly. Within this newfound resilience, I realized I needed to cultivate our collective strength. I opened my laptop, the familiar hum of the machine providing comfort as I prepared to draft a new video outline for my channel. This effort would be more than just documenting my thoughts. It would involve bringing my family into the fold, helping us all articulate our fears and resolve as a unit. Yet an idea struck me as potent as a lightning bolt. What if I created a space not only for experiences, but a community to guide us through potential turmoil? A member space dedicated to exploring deeper insights, fears, and strategies as we navigated our futures together. It was time we elevated this journey beyond myself, broader than we could have imagined. I typed with intent, weaving a narrative that intertwined my family's involvement with the lessons learned from our online community. I want to invite you all to join the members area where we can explore more in-depth experiences. Together, we can dive into revealing discussions, craft plans for facing our futures, and support one another in ways that go beyond just casual conversation. Collectively, we can elevate our understanding. Pondering this level of engagement, I thought of the stories already shared, how poignant and impactful they could become when nurtured within a dedicated space. Wouldn't it be powerful to see our experiences come together, allowing us to hone our insights as a family and community? I took a moment to breathe, scanning the already growing list of potential topics I'd amassed. Each one held a thread of the unknown, just waiting for the right tug to unravel deeper truths. There was the possibility of examining specific predictions from the files and tackling relatable challenges, from family dynamics to individual choices that required courage. As I began drafting this new video, I felt exhilarated by a sense of clarity emerging from the chaos. Becoming a member of this journey meant opening not just the doors to healing, but to connection and profound understanding. It felt purpose-driven, like a switch had been flipped within me. Realizing I wanted to keep my family involved, I turned to them again, shifting my focus back to the living room where spirited conversations had begun to settle toward more mellow exchanges. What if we created weekly sessions here at home where we could share our thoughts about our predictions, challenges, and progress as individuals and a family? They exchanged glances, their interest piqued. "That sounds great," my mother replied, her warmth drawing out a smile from my brother. "Yeah, I could get behind that," my sister added. "It could be nice to have a support system built around this." I felt a thrill run through me as I envisioned these sessions fostering trust and communication, strengthening our connections in ways I never thought possible. And can I propose that everyone become a member of my channel's community? In this space, we can have deeper discussions, maybe even workshop some strategies together without feeling judged. "Absolutely," my sister encouraged. "Let's be part of it and help each other grow." With each word exchanged, the spark of hope flickered brighter until it cast away the lingering shadows of destiny that haunted me. If anyone is interested, hitting the members area could help amplify our discussions. We'll have resources available just for us, everything from exclusive material based on my father's predictions to live discussions. The acceptance from my family blossomed like new buds on a spring tree. I could feel the anxieties giving way to excitement about what the future held for us. While we couldn't entirely escape the tide of foreboding that came from the past, we were no longer powerless. As discussions continued, the tension I had felt earlier ebbed away like a receding tide, revealing growing possibilities. Together, we were enhanced by the intent of shared understanding, building strength against the turbulence of life. I pulled my laptop toward me, squeezing in every detail I could as the ideas flowed over me, determined to put our stories to rest not as burdens, but as tools for healing and progress. When I finally posted that draft, I felt lighter, a soft glow in my chest reminding me that dialed between destiny and choice existed the beautiful space of resilience, shared hope, and togetherness. With every step we took as a family, I was flooded with a comforting certainty that we could indeed write our own story, even against the currents that sought to carry us away. As the days slipped by following our family discussion, the energy in our home felt charged with possibilities. I embraced the warmth of our newly forged pledge, and the anticipation of change invigorated my spirit. Conversations among us began to shift subtly. We talked more openly about feelings, worries, and even the unpleasant prophecies I had unearthed. It was as though we had unlocked a door to vulnerability that had long been sealed. I poured myself into crafting the content for my channel, each video capturing the essence of this new journey we were traveling together. The members area had started to take shape in my mind, a vibrant destination for our collective introspection and healing. Sharing our frustrations and victories felt cathartic, and little by little I sensed my family growing resilient, unearthing strengths that had surprised even me. One evening, in the midst of recording a video about the connection between generational patterns and our own experiences, a compelling thought struck me. I began speaking into the camera, my voice steady. Have you ever experienced moments in life that felt strangely familiar, as if they replayed from a distant past? This is something not just familial, it's collective. Through our stories, I am uncovering optimism amidst the darkness, and I believe we can harness this power as a family. As I shared personal anecdotes adorned with the insights I gathered from my father's discs, it became clear to me that I needed to elevate our journey even further. Each lesson I had learned held value, and I wanted to ensure others understood that value too. Inspired, I envisioned a comprehensive ebook as an extension of our experiences, one that chronicled our journey through turbulent times and the shapes of fate we faced together. I grabbed my notebook, excited to outline this ebook, pouring out ideas and memories in a frenzy. I envisioned the chapters framing critical elements, the story of our family's trial against the specter of preordained destiny, how we pinpointed significant moments, and how we transformed them into actionable steps toward healing and growth. As I scribbled notes, I felt the revitalizing pulse of purpose coursing through me. I jotted down key chapters: unlocking the past, understanding family patterns, facing the future, tools for resilience, creating an impact, how to forge connections, and many more, all weaving a compelling tapestry of our collective journey. Each section would be punctuated with visuals that documented our family discussions, reflections, and strategies. Once I saw the structure, I couldn't help but visualize individuals experiencing the same struggles we had. If our insights could change just one person's course, what impact might our experience have? The thrill of inspiration flooded my veins as I realized that documenting our transformation would serve others in ways I couldn't yet fathom. In my next video, I brought up the idea of the ebook. In sharing our journey, I believe that we open doors, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. Once it's ready, I'll have the complete ebook available so you can walk alongside us through the pages, witness our deeply rooted fears, and learn how to conquer your own dilemmas. Together, let's not only rewrite our stories, but influence others in the process. As my excitement grew, I imagined the support of the community pouring in. I could already see people engaging through the members area, sharing their insights, and collaborating on the strategies I suggested. When the ebook launches, it will be a chance for anyone navigating their own predicaments, an opportunity for us all to step into the narrative in a new way, I said, drawing parallels between our experiences and theirs. Emboldened by the feedback rolling in, I added, and if you want to take a deeper dive with us, find the link below for the complete ebook. It's detailed, filled with valuable lessons, and aimed at illuminating the path through the dark times. As I released the video into the world, I felt an exhilarating sense of vulnerability mixed with pride. This book would not only serve as a reflective tool for my family, but also extend a hand to those burdened by similar fates.
I envisioned our collective voices rising up against the tides that threatened to pull us under, bearing witness to a history charged with resilience. Weeks passed, and as we sat together each week for our family sessions, I heard my brother thoughtfully illustrating his take on one of Dad's predictions, completely unaware that it reflected his own struggles. My sister detailed her desire to confront her own shadows, a story that echoed the lessons I had drawn from our shared pasts. Together, we faced and accepted the unbearable truths that sometimes lingered just beneath the surface. These moments made everything worthwhile, fortifying the bond that had started to bud during our conversations. The ebook became not just a product of my efforts, but an anthology of our emotions, a collection of insights and warnings from the past that propelled us toward the future. I pressed forward, pen in hand, even as I fought the echoes of doubt that tried to creep ever closer. With every word, I was propelled by the hope that we could light a pathway for those wandering in darkness. In crafting this narrative, I finally began to feel my father's influence in each lesson written down to share, a testament to growth amid trials. It was time for healing, a reclamation through shared stories, wrapped in purpose, compelled to help others rewrite their narratives just as we had. Our transformation demanded to be shared, a reminder that our stories were not merely ours. They belonged to everyone seeking connection, understanding, and ultimately freedom from the chains of fate. The ebook would be our legacy, an invitation for others to step into their power and illuminate their paths. As the days turned into weeks, the ebook began to take on a life of its own. Each section echoed the complexities of our narrative and the lessons buried within. I dedicated late nights to its development, the glow of my laptop screen illuminating the contours of this journey we were forging together. It felt transformational, not just for me, but for the entire family. Words born from vulnerability were emerging as universal truths. During one of our weekly family sessions, I shared a draft of the introduction. I want to give you all an idea of how we are framing our experiences, I said, excitement pulsing through my voice. As I read aloud, I looked into their expressions, searching for signs of recognition or connection. The past does not merely haunt us, it enriches us. By unlocking our family's history, we confront the uncomfortable prophecies that echo through generations. These stories shape us, but they don't define us, I recited, feeling the words resonate in the shared space between us. My brother leaned back, a contemplative expression settling on his face. You think we can really change what's written? Can we rewrite these outcomes? It's certainly not easy, I admitted, but facing what was foretold offers us a chance to strategize rather than simply react. We're not alone in this. The stories and lessons we glean are valuable not just to us, but to anyone contending with similar struggles. That's the part that excites me, my sister chimed in, her eyes shining with newfound inspiration. Everyone needs a guide to navigate through tough times. With their encouragement, I pushed through that week, finishing several sections dedicated to the actionable insights from our family history. Each lesson became a blueprint, a guide, intertwined with our heartfelt reflections. It transformed into a celebration of resilience and connection. As the pages filled, I could almost see the impact this project would have. I envisioned the ebook provided as a sanctuary for those who felt lost, a collection of stories and strategies that shed light on the path forward. My thoughts spiraled into a vision of a community rallying around healing, a purposeful gathering of shared humanity. Then, one evening while editing the chapter titled Facing the Future, Tools for Resilience, an unsettling thought stirred within me. I had been so focused on the written word that I was neglecting the living side of our story. Remembering my father's predictions, I felt the weight shift as I connected with the present. It became clear that this book was not solely an end, but also a continuation of our interactions as a family and community. I couldn't shake off the realization that while the ebook was a valuable resource, the conversations emerging around it were paramount. I started recording short videos, segments where I delved deeper into the predictions I had unearthed and how each connected to us on a personal level. I wanted to ensure the community felt engaged and part of this unfolding narrative. Hey everyone, I grinned as the camera rolled. I wanted to take a moment to speak directly about how you can be part of this transformative journey. This project is as much about you as it is about me and my family. We're aiming to build a supportive atmosphere together. I paused, reflecting on how powerful our collective ethos had become. Remember, I continued with a renewed sense of urgency, if you want to dive even deeper with us, consider hitting that thanks button below. Your support allows me to keep creating these resources and content that will help so many. Every bit helps in keeping our community alive and thriving. As I shared my passion, my heart raced with excitement, and I knew we were on the precipice of something truly profound. Our conversations were already reverberating across the community, echoes of others stepping forward to share their stories and experiences. There was power in vulnerability, and together we could harness it. Weeks melted into one another, and slowly but surely, our family meetings evolved into a multifaceted exploration of our journey, drawing wisdom from the past while crafting our future. With my family becoming active participants in discussions, we coached each other through our challenges and held space for healing. The lines between our individual narratives began to blur into one collective story. I sat back, watching as my brother shared his newfound strategies to break away from what he saw as cycles that had previously bound him. My sister followed suit, illustrating brave steps she was taking to confront her own fears. It filled my heart to see them taking ownership of their paths, leaning into the lessons we had continually unearthed. As I finalized the last touches for the ebook, I envisioned its impact stretching beyond the pages, sparking dialogue, igniting courage, and knitting together a tapestry of shared resilience. This was meant to be a launch pad, a beacon of light illuminating the way for those grappling with their own inevitable fates. In the stillness of that moment, I allowed myself gratitude. I finally understood that our stories belong to everyone who sought to rewrite theirs. The essence of our journey would become a lifeline to others, proof that we could redefine our narratives and take back control of our destinies. As I submitted the ebook for final edits, I felt a soft surge of hope. It was time to embark on the next phase of this journey together, and I couldn't wait to witness how the stories we shared would ripple through the world beyond us. Together, we would illuminate the paths that lay ahead, undeterred by shadows from the past. As the final edits of the ebook completed, I embraced a bittersweet mix of emotions. Excitement danced on the precipice of fear. Fear of revealing our vulnerabilities for the world to see. Fear of the implications that our shared struggles might awaken in others. Yet, the desire to see our journey resonate beyond the confines of our home pushed me forward. We had unlocked a depth of understanding that was too valuable to keep hidden. Weeks of family discussions bloomed into fertile ground for growth. We transformed into an open dialogue of ideas, supportive feedback, and fears faced collectively. Each week, as we gathered, we crafted strategies to face the challenges foretold by my father. Predictions that had once felt heavy now transformed into opportunities for vulnerability and connection. The evening of our last family session before the launch arrived. The room was filled with anticipation, the air electrified with the essence of closeness. Everyone had contributed insights over the months, but now it was time to reflect as a unit. I pulled out my laptop and opened a final draft of the ebook to share with them. Tonight is about celebrating what we've achieved as a family, I began, allowing a smile to break through my nerves. This ebook is a reflection of not just my journey, but ours. Each story, every lesson, it's our collective map toward healing. A hushed silence enveloped us as I clicked through the pages, pointing out significant sections and ideas. I highlighted the chapter on confronting familial patterns, which detailed our experiences and outlined practical strategies for others battling their own echoes of fate. My sister leaned forward, a look of recognition lighting her face. That was a turning point for me. The way we tackled those painful truths made so much difference. Her acknowledgement sparked something in my brother as well.
I think that chapter is going to help a lot of people see how to handle tricky conversations in their own families, he added, his tone steeped in sincerity. Encouraged, I dove deeper into the theme of choice and resilience that threaded throughout the book. This ebook aims to inspire action. It's not just theoretical. It's meant to be a guide, a tool for anyone who feels stuck in patterns they can't break free from. I pressed on, sharing the call to action I had embedded throughout the book. At every chapter's end, there'll be a link to the members area where they can engage with others and share their own stories. Plus, the ebook itself will be available as a resource for those looking to navigate their own family complexities. The pride in their eyes reinforced my determination.
And remember, if everyone supports this channel, hitting that thanks button below my videos helps us keep this community vibrant. Your support matters, allowing me to create content that resonates. Together, we're reshaping not just our narratives, but potentially influencing others to reclaim their lives. Let's toast to our growth, our stories, and the connections we forged, my mother said, lifting her glass. The moment felt miraculous, as if we were stitching together a fabric of hope that would reach beyond our walls. After the toast, discussion naturally flowed.
We spoke of our newly transformed family dynamics and shared strategies and plans moving forward, ready to embrace whatever challenges may arise. The bonds that had formed were palpable, like a tapestry woven from threads of honesty and empathy. As we concluded the session, we set a date for the ebook launch. The excitement bubbled over, igniting us further. We talked about ways to promote the book. Perhaps we could use social media to gather more stories. The exhilaration swept through us as we collectively embraced the idea of creating an expansive network, reaching out to those who needed our message of hope and support. In preparation for the launch day, I spent hours promoting the ebook through various channels, every tick of the clock heightening my nervous anticipation. If we reach just one soul who feels lost, a quiet whisper nestled in my heart, it'll be worth every moment of vulnerability we've endured. The morning of the launch arrived, and I sat before the camera, my heart racing with a mix of hope and trepidation. The time had come to present our collective offering, a story of resilience crafted from the fragments of our family's past, a guide through the trials foreshadowed by my father. Hey everyone, I started, my voice steadier than I felt. Today is about more than just me. It's about us, each of our narratives woven brilliantly together. I'm thrilled to announce the launch of my new ebook that encapsulates our journey and the critical lessons we've learned along the way. Excitement surged through me as I detailed the book's content and purpose. This isn't just a product. It's a map for those navigating their own complex family dynamics and searching for their paths to healing. I believe it contains valuable insights that could illuminate the way forward. I closed with heartfelt gratitude. If you find value in what we've created here, please hit that link for the ebook. Together, let's inspire others and help them navigate their stories. Also, don't forget, the thanks button is right below. Your support means everything. It ensures our community remains vibrant and alive, just as our stories deserve to be. As I clicked submit, the launch video went live. I felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation as the world began to witness the culmination of our journey. I knew that while we were sharing our experiences, we were also extending an invitation to countless others, the chance to reclaim their narratives and step into the light together. As I leaned back in my chair, a sense of serenity washed over me. I was ready for the journey ahead, both for my family and everyone who might find solace in our story. As the hours passed after the launch, notifications flooded in. Messages of congratulations, shared stories, and people expressing how our experiences echoed their own struggles. My heart swelled. The vulnerability we had embraced was now a lifeline for others. Gathering my family in the living room, I shared my phone buzzing with kind words. It's incredible. People are resonating with our journey and relating to our stories, I said, excitement bubbling in my chest. My sister's eyes brightened. It's amazing to see how much our words mean to others. I didn't realize how many felt trapped like we did. My brother nodded, his gaze focused. We should respond. This could lead to something even bigger. In that moment, ideas sparked. My mother suggested hosting a live Q&A session. Let's create a platform for engagement, she said, her enthusiasm infectious. Yes, I exclaimed, a space for connection. We can highlight individuals and celebrate their journeys, just as we did in our ebook. We spent days preparing for our first live session. As the date approached, a mix of nerves and excitement swirled within me. This was more than sharing our stories. It was about creating a community around healing. On the night of the session, I settled in front of the camera, a sense of calm washing over me. Welcome, everyone. Tonight is about listening and supporting one another. Let's create a safe space for open conversation. As stories poured in, the strength of our collective vulnerability shone brightly. Viewers expressed gratitude, sharing their insights and thankfulness. Thank you for this space. I didn't know how much I needed to hear these experiences. I responded, together we can break through the limits placed on our narratives. The conversations flowed effortlessly, a series of threads intertwining to form a tapestry of shared experience. The more we spoke, the more evident the impact became. Our stories were igniting courage in others. As the session drew to a close, I felt a profound sense of resolve. The fears once held at bay were transformed into empowering voices that connected us all. Remember, I said, wrapping up, if you found value in our conversation, hit that thanks button below to support our community. Your contributions help keep this space alive. As I signed off, I felt liberated. No longer bound by my father's ominous predictions, I grasped that we were ready to face whatever lay ahead. Together, we had rewritten our narratives, embracing the light of shared understanding and inviting others to reclaim their own stories. In that beautiful momentum of connection, we were creating a future filled with hope and resilience together.